What do you think of when you ponder the world of business? Does jargon come to mind or people in suits? But behind all of this, there are human stories waiting to be discovered. Hello and welcome to CXO Chatter, where we engage with CXOs from some of the biggest industries across the world and the most influential companies as we seek to understand their personal journeys, their leadership philosophies, and the pivotal moments that shaped who they are. Rahul, thank you so much for being here with us on our inaugural episode of CXO Chatter. Pleasure having you with us on this fine morning. So it's been a long and eventful professional journey for you, Rahul. Take us through some of it and how you ascended to this leadership position in the world of operations, particularly in healthcare.
See, I represent a generation where your professional progression need not be sequential or linear.
Right.
And I would say I'm classical example of that, because as a fresh graduate, B school graduate, I got an opportunity to work into multiple areas. Like my first job was literally part of the CEO's office.
Okay.
And that really gave me a perspective about how entire pharma industry works from a top-down point of view. I also consciously chosen the areas where I worked in for some time I worked in finance, and some time I worked in insurance,
All right.
in risk. I'm a chemical engineer, so I worked on shop floor, so
Okay.
I understand that better. I have a huge comfort dealing with technical teams. Also, I got an opportunity to represent Dr. Reddy's, my previous company where I worked, which is a global name, on a global arena, where I was heading the business development function, was part of several cross-border deals, initiatives that exposed me to multiple cultures, multiple global partners, and really helped me build competencies at a global scale, at an operational scale, and cutting across different functions to kind of do justice to the complexity of a role like a CEO's role.
Of course. So, having taken on so many diverse roles or seen so many myriad functions, then there must be some stories or some anecdotes or some incidents that stick in your mind from this entire journey so far. Am I right in saying that?
Everybody's life is full of stories, right?
Of course,
same
of
is
course.
mine. And
Inevitably.
I would say one such story, and I think how some of your decisions actually shape the way you want to. This is the time when I was in my final year engineering, and that time it was a big call. What do you want to really choose? You want to really choose a kind of a technical stream, or you want to really go after a kind of a different stream? And that time I chose a kind of business path and really wanted to go and do MBA. That time I had, like any other kind of young engineering graduate, want to do well. I appeared for CAT. I got into IIM Lucknow, and that time I took a call that if I have to do it well, then probably I would kind of give myself one more chance and maybe try for A, B or C. I mean, having something which is as very good as like IIM Lucknow in hand, but you let that go, and then
That's a big call.
Yeah, it's a big call, right? And then I decided to kind of give one more round. Decided to work in industry. I used those 2 years of preparation again, working very closely in oil and gas on shop floor. I had to go through my struggles, because it's not easy to work and study and then again kind of do. But I think in the hindsight, it really helped me. First, it gave me a lot of, I would say, very strong technical expertise, which is now helping me a lot. And second is, I have now deep satisfaction. I took some risk. I had to go through that kind of difficult path, and then got a sense of achievement when I got into where I wanted to get to.
That's always the case, because what you often learn in a textbook or in a classroom and out there on the field in real time can often be worlds apart.
Exactly.
So you strike me as somebody who's always got a very inquisitive mind, looking to learn and take on new things. And of course, you've straddled a lot of functions along the way, like you've mentioned. What are your top of the mind considerations then to stay at the forefront of a dynamic field like pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, where things change so rapidly in the course of days and weeks and months rather than years?
I think I would say you're right. Pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industry is extremely dynamic. Not every day, but every month or every year, you will see a completely new way of treating diseases, kind of improving health are coming out.
Of course.
And in today's context, where everybody is kind of focusing on holistic kind of disease management. This goes beyond the illness part, right?
Of course.
This goes now in the realm of wellness.
Correct.
And then there is whole set of things which are coming as integrated way of looking at the things, which even often use technology as a very core component.
Exactly.
So you have to think about your businesses and the way you are kind of operating beyond the pill. So far the industry was very focusing on the pill, but now you have to get into new areas like digital, AI, ML, and few other things to really kind of think arena or world which is beyond the pill, and really kind of think innovatively, think creatively, bring in those solutions, converge those on the patient, and create something which is really solving the core issues.
You touched upon technology and you touched upon wellness, and that's actually very timely because I was just going to come around to that sooner rather than later. In the last few years, of course, we've seen this major shift towards digital interventions to try and move from sickness towards wellness, like you're correctly mentioning. So what kind of digital interventions at BSV are you particularly proud of?
I would say we are kind of getting into a lot of new areas where technology, not per se digital, but a lot of artificial intelligence related technology being used. And one of the areas where we are really actively looking at to partnering is the diagnostic part.
Okay.
Right? And we've been
predictive analytics when it comes to healthcare.
Exactly, predictive analytics, which will help in many cases to reduce the time we take for diagnosing certain things.
Because
right?
prevention is better than cure.
Prevention is better than cure, or even timely detection will help solving a lot of health issues. Now look at simple thing. Why cancer becomes had become in the past a big kind of burden and cure was difficult? Because normally it got detected in stage 3 or stage 4 where it's very difficult. But if there is a predictive technology which can predict it in say stage 1, that's where then your complications of or the simplicity of treatment is far more and far predictable than otherwise. So I think the world is moving in that way, and we are also working with partners. And how do we, in the areas in which we operate, how do we use technology to kind of either detect early or have better mapping of patient journey, so that we don't have to treat or help patient treat their diseases when they are at late stage. Move it early, use technology and kind of other tools to kind of
that's a valid point, because culturally I think we are the kind of people who would rather not do yearly checkups or even half yearly checkups. Once the horse has bolted the stable, then we say now how do we fix it? But perhaps because of technology and because of our comfort with it, this might then help to prevent things before they get out of hand. Let me switch things around a bit. I've been given to understand you manage a lot of the overseas operations for BSV, and particularly, for example, in Philippines, where a lot of the workforce is women, whether by design or by accident. Now, when we talk about healthcare, it's generally seen as a very feminine function, and yet there are such few women leaders sitting at the top of the entire business. How do you then create that pipeline of women leaders across the healthcare continuum?
No, I think this is a very pertinent question you asked. Especially because of my global exposure, I've worked with multiple, kind of teams across countries. One thing, and especially that struck me when I was, kind of visiting multiple teams across countries, the women representation in workforce is pretty high. And not only in our organization, but wherever you go out, you meet partners, you will see more than 50% women on an office floor, right? Your counterparts on the other side, a lot of them are women you will see that. But in India, because of certain, kind of socio-economic and multifactorial thing, we would see that is not happening.
Yes, they're more on the support side of things.
I'll tell you some of the examples. In Indian context, when it comes to API manufacturing, imagining a manufacturing head as a woman is really a kind of far-fetched imagination. But whereas in our operation, like in say Philippines, you would see more than 60-70% are women.
Really, that high?
And at the business head also is a women leader for us there. And I would see that if that is happening, and I'm seeing that happening in Southeast Asia and Latin America and part of the Europe, why can't that happen in India, right? Of course, we have our own legacy of some socio-economic beliefs, and women are now going out. A lot of women are coming in the workforce, but still we have huge gap between where these other economies or countries are versus where we are. And we are doing our own bit from that side. We have launched a fantastic program called Women Touring, where we have identified across teams promising women leader, and really kind of working with them in a very organized way to
creating a
them.
pathway for them.
Exactly. I'm personally mentoring a lot of women
lovely.
leaders. So I think we are on our journey, and as I said, I think India is an evolving country. There is a bright future for us. There are certain legacy things with us. I think over time we need to find a solution and we'll get there.
Okay, that's a wonderful way to look at it. Rahul, I must ask you, talking about the entire business, because of course you manage a lot of things across Europe, South America, Southeast Asia. What are your top 3 considerations for maybe the medium term, playing out till 2025? When you look at the business, or when you look at the organization or the industry, what are the top considerations for you?
One major trend is the way technology is getting integrated in areas in which we operate. And you just name the area. I think the world has substantially changed, and the speed of change is very rapid. And I think we kind of sitting back and just kind of waiting the things to happen, those days are over. I think we need to be ahead of the things, really anticipating what is going to happen. And that's the pace at which the things are changing. I think that's a big trend I'm seeing across. Second, I'm seeing also a lot countries and industries are moving towards self-reliant, or in our context we are also saying Atmanirbharta, right? And I'm saying that's happening in multiple countries and multiple arenas, and that has making us think, if you really want to be a meaningful global player, then you really need to be part of their Atmanirbhar story as well, as much you want to be your Atmanirbhar story. So I think your way to play the global game has changed.
You think global, you act local.
You have to act local in those individual countries and really solve for the local problem. I think these two things I'm sensing are very different than the way we were looking at the industry a decade back.
So to round things off, I have one final question for you. If you had to look back and give a young Rahul Adakmol a word of advice, or you had to tell anybody really looking to ascend to a position of leadership within particularly pharma and operations, what kind of advice or what kind of wisdom would you offer somebody starting on their journey today?
I am a follower of one very interesting HR concept, and a lot of my MBA friends would have learned that in their courses, is something called Peter's Principle.
Okay.
Now, Peter's Principle says people will reach to their level of incompetencies at certain level. And what does that mean? See, if I have a good individual contributor creating impact, the natural tendency for us to put him as a kind of a team lead, right? But the competencies for an individual contributor versus competencies for a team lead are a different competencies. And the person who is getting into that new role needs to learn new competencies. Otherwise, the person will be incompetent for that role. A team leader then going as, say, function leader. A function leader getting to business leader. Business leader getting
something new to learn.
So at every stage, you would see, if you don't add competencies which are required for you to go to the next level, you would end up being incompetent at that level. And this is a very old principle, but very relevant. And I think I would like to tell to everybody across functions and even young generation, add competencies. Your career will kind of find its path, but add competencies which will help you grow.
Of course, always, because life is a lifelong learning process. You take it as you go along. Otherwise, what will end up happening is you see somebody climb high up and you wonder, how did that monkey climb that high? Thank you, Rahul. It's been a thrill to be chatting with you on our inaugural edition of CXO Chatter. Here's hoping to hear from you more next time we meet.
Thank you.
So that was our conversation with Rahul Adakmol, where we painted a picture of and the demands of a position that not many might have really known to be true. But we hope that these learnings, these insights, these tips, tricks and anecdotes serve as rich learning experiences for all of you along your personal and professional journeys. Thank you so much for being here with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of CXO Chatter.